You're walking in the forest during the twilight hours of the day, when suddenly you see a very beautiful woman standing in the middle of the forest. You're besmitten by her beauty. You can't take away your gaze from her. But as your gaze wanders over her body, her naked body, you begin to realize that she has some features that are not human. You notice the tail of a cow sticking out from her back, as well as her feet, being those of an hooved animal, and not the expected toed feet of a human. Yet, despite these strange features, you are still seduced by her beauty. You are still tempted to approach her. And as you approach her from a certain angle, as you were trying to get through the thicket of the forest in order to get closer to her, you notice her back, and that on her back is a terrible gaping wound, whose terrible appearance dispels whatever sorcery or witchcraft she used in order to make you approach her, and you flee in terror from her, never to return to that place again. What I just described was the folkloric encounter with a creature known in Scandinavian folklore as Skogsrået. From skogs, meaning forest, and rå, which is an abbreviation of rådare, which means ruler. So, the forest ruler. Sometimes also called Huldra or Trollkvinnan, the troll woman or the magic woman. This creature usually takes the shape of an extremely beautiful woman, with an animal tail, usually a cow tail, but also other animals' tails are sometimes used in the tales about this creature. And sometimes they are also said to have the feet or hooves of animals as well. Sometimes only one foot is of an animal and the other is that of a human. And sometimes neither is animal feet or both are animal feet, depending upon folkloric tradition. When seen from the behind, this creature is said to have a hollow back, like a giant gaping wound, sometimes likened to the hole found in an oak tree, or the hole into the ground found in mine shafts. This wound in the back is said to be so terrible that in certain traditions, just the mere sight of it will cause such terror that it will break any spell that this creature has put upon a person in order to control them, and make the person flee away from this creature in pure terror, as they ought to. As this creature loves to tempt people astray, and loves to make people get lost in the forest, as well as to enslave people, and to kill people more directly as well. In fact, in certain traditions, she will sound like a lost child, making sympathetic, beautiful women come to her place of residence, where she will proceed to murder these women and take their appearances by wearing their bodies like a glove, entering from the back, hence the gaping hole in the back of this creature. Afterwards, this creature will then use her beautiful appearance and her magics to tempt men in the forest, either to lead them astray so that they get lost in the forest when they are searching for her, as they are so besmitten by her that they need to watch her more, and thus, as they diverge from the paths well trodden, they enter into the unknown parts of the forest and get lost. Or, in the possibly even worse scenario, she engages directly with the men that she tempts in what I would describe as a contest of naked acts of passion in the forest, where sometimes whoever finishes last wins, sometimes it is whoever ends on top that wins these contests of acts of passion. If the tempted man loses in these contests, he will lose his soul after having done the deed with this creature, and he will be forever bound to be an almost mindless slave to this creature, to either die in the forest or to kidnap more victims for this creature's appetites both metaphorically, carnally, and sometimes literally, as this creature is known in certain traditions to eat the flesh of humans. And this is the worst case scenario, that the tempted man becomes a slave to this creature and brings it more victims. But if the man would ever win in this contest of acts of passion, if the man's prowess in the act should prove to be great enough, then Skogsrået will propose marriage to the man, instead of taking his soul and enslaving him. If this proposal is accepted, the man will be rewarded with great hunting luck, but should he ever become unfaithful to the Skogsrå, then he will be forever cursed with bad luck in hunting and with terrible fates awaiting him when he enters the forests. But if he accepts and is faithful, then the Skogsrå will be the mother of his children, that she will be a very doting parent for and protect with all her abilities, and she will also promise, when he is gone due to old age, to help his descendants of those children too. Especially her and her mate's female descendants, where she will help with work and the like, and use her magics to aid her descendants. And her magics are considerable, as she has the command of all animals in the forest, as well as command over all the plants in the forest too, as she usually protects them as a forest guardian spirit. This is why she often is in conflict with hunters and the men of the forest, such as lumberjacks and the like. Though she is also sometimes sought out in certain traditions for aid and to make deals with, in order to get luck with various things that are related to the forest and to avoid injuries and accidents related to things in the forest. The Skogsrå also sometimes has some overlap with the Vitra, another creature from Scandinavian folklore and mythology, that also likes to make deals with people and has a tendency to make people go astray in the forest. And the Skogsrå is sometimes just considered the female version of this creature, though at other times in other traditions it is considered as a separate creature from the Vitra. It really depends upon local traditions and local folk beliefs in Scandinavia, and when and where you are looking. When a human gets into a conflict with a Skogsrå, either due to the fact that the Skogsrå is protecting the forest or sabotaging efforts in the forest due to wanting to protect the forest, or due to the Skogsrå seducing someone but getting discovered for what she really is before she manages to complete the seduction of the person, then there are certain methods to deal with Skogsrået. Like prayers are said to keep her away, prayers to God. And so are certain metals, like cold iron and silver, that are said to be able to keep her away, as they are dangerous for her to touch. Very similar to other traditions in other folklores about the Fae. And there are also tales about hunters that use guile and cunning to fool the Skogsrå, often through challenges of skill and thinking, where they challenge the Skogsrå to various contests of the mind, where they outwit her and thus bind her through these challenges, as the Skogsrå, in a strange sort of way, is an honor-bound creature that will keep its word after having accepted a challenge or made a deal, and thus binding these rulers of the forest to one's will can give one great benefits when in the domain of the forest. After having outwitted them in a challenge contest, and thus gotten concessions from them, or after having made a deal with them. This is also part of popular folklore regarding this creature. And speaking about popular folklore and this creature's fame or infamy, depending upon context, it is so famous that it is referenced in a lot of Scandinavian works that are heavily involved with folklore or Scandinavian fantasy. And furthermore, the appearance of this creature can be found on a lot of heraldry as well. For example, Lardal municipality, now part of Larvik municipality in Norway, used to have the Skogsrå on their heraldry. And the traditions regarding this creature go way back in time, to the medieval age and even earlier, probably. Interestingly enough, older versions of the myth regarding the Skogsrå in the medieval age often depict this creature as being male rather than female. And there does exist male versions of this creature in the southern parts of Scandinavia, called Skogsman or Forest Man, which are more or less exactly the same creature, just the male version of them. Speaking about history, in earlier history, though a bit later than the medieval period, in early modern history, in old Swedish law there actually existed a death penalty for having had dealings with a Skogsrå, in particular carnal dealings with a Skogsrå. So the myths and beliefs about these creatures were pretty widespread and considered seriously, and the Skogsrå is still an important creature in the folkloric and mythological traditions of the Scandinavian peoples. And that is the Skogsrå, the seductive forest guardian spirit of Scandinavian folklore. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please ask questions, comment, and push the like button as it helps this channel to grow.
Please do subscribe as it would help the channel spread awareness about the humanities.
اشتركوا بالقناة من فضلكم.